What if the next grocery item to disappear from Walmart isn't because people panic bought it, but because Walmart quietly decided to order less of it months ago? That's how retail works. By the time shoppers notice empty spaces on the shelf, the real decision has already been made behind the scenes, long before anyone sees a shortage. This isn't speculation. Recent supply reports, government price data, and company earnings all point to the same trend. Several everyday food categories are facing higher costs, tighter supplies, or fewer product choices. That doesn't necessarily mean these foods will vanish overnight. But it does mean your favorite brand, or even your favorite size, may become harder to find and more expensive in the weeks ahead. Today, we're counting down 9 foods Walmart has reportedly been scaling back orders on, and why it matters before your next shopping trip. Let's start with the item almost nobody pays attention to. Number 9. Canned pineapple and tropical fruit. At first glance, canned pineapple doesn't seem like the kind of product that would raise any concerns. It's inexpensive, has a long shelf life, and usually sits untouched on the shelf. But that's exactly why it became one of the first warning signs. Instead of suddenly disappearing, shipments simply became smaller over time. When suppliers repeatedly deliver fewer cases without any public announcement, retailers often respond by reducing future orders rather than leaving empty shelf space. Several factors are contributing to the pressure, including weather-related crop problems in Southeast Asia, higher import costs, and rising prices for aluminum cans. None of those issues alone would attract much attention. Together, they create the kind of slow supply squeeze most shoppers never notice until prices begin climbing. If canned pineapple, mandarin oranges, or tropical fruit cups are regular pantry items in your home, this may be a good time to pick up a few extra while prices are still reasonable. Because once supply starts tightening, stores rarely announce it. Most customers only realize something has changed when their usual product isn't there anymore. And what happened in this category may already be happening somewhere much more familiar. Number 8. Breakfast cereal. The cereal aisle still looks full. Rows of colorful boxes, familiar brands, and plenty of choices. But appearances can be misleading. One of the quietest changes happening at Walmart isn't empty shelves, it's fewer varieties behind the scenes. When production costs rise, companies don't always raise prices first. Instead, they often stop making slower-selling flavors and package sizes, allowing retailers to simplify their inventory. That's exactly what's been happening across parts of the cereal category. Major manufacturers have already reported weaker cereal sales, higher operating costs, and the discontinuation of several products as they focus on their best-selling items. For shoppers, the first sign usually isn't an empty shelf. It's realizing your favorite cereal has quietly disappeared while the most popular options remain. Many people simply grab a different box and move on. But over time, fewer choices also mean less competition, making future price increases easier to pass on to consumers. If your household has 1 or 2 cereals everyone enjoys, it may be worth buying an extra box when they're on sale. Most unopened cereal stays fresh for months when stored properly, because once companies decide to discontinue a product, it rarely comes back. The next item may surprise you even more. It's one of America's favorite budget-friendly proteins. Number 7. Canned tuna and canned fish. Canned tuna has always been one of the most dependable items in the grocery store. It's affordable, packed with protein, and lasts for years in the pantry. That's exactly why what's happening now deserves attention. The biggest problem isn't that canned fish is disappearing altogether. It's that many of the mid-priced brands shoppers buy every week are becoming less consistent on store shelves. When suppliers face higher costs for seafood, transportation, and aluminum cans, retailers often respond by reducing orders on slower-moving products while keeping only the best-selling options in stock. To most shoppers, the shelf still looks normal. But look a little closer, and you may notice fewer brands, fewer flavors, or fewer package sizes than you remember. That's usually how inventory compression begins. If tuna, salmon, or sardines are staples in your pantry, consider buying a few extra cans during your next sale. They're inexpensive, easy to store, and could save you from paying more later this year. The next category affects almost every family, especially those trying to eat healthier without spending more. Number 6. Frozen vegetables. Frozen vegetables have become a go-to choice for millions of families because they're convenient, nutritious, and create less food waste than fresh produce. But they also depend on one thing many shoppers never think about: a stable supply chain. Every bag has to be harvested, processed, frozen, stored, and transported under carefully controlled temperatures. When energy costs rise or harvests fall short, those extra expenses quickly work their way through the entire system. Retailers don't always respond by leaving empty freezers. Instead, they often reduce the number of varieties they carry while keeping the shelves looking full. That's why your favorite blend may quietly disappear even though the freezer still looks well stocked. If your family regularly buys frozen broccoli, peas, green beans, or stir-fry mixes, picking up a few extra bags while prices remain reasonable is a practical move. Because once product choices begin shrinking, they rarely expand again overnight. Up next is a grocery staple almost every American buys. Yet most people don't realize it's already becoming more expensive. Number 5. Bananas and fresh produce. Bananas have been one of the most affordable foods in American grocery stores for decades. That's why many shoppers assume they'll always stay that way. But unlike packaged foods, fresh produce doesn't usually disappear overnight. Retailers simply receive fewer shipments, smaller deliveries, or reduced inventory over time. At first, most customers don't notice. The shelves still look full, but prices slowly begin climbing, and promotional sales become less common. That's exactly what happens when growers face higher production costs, transportation becomes more expensive, or imported produce comes under additional trade pressure. The same trend also affects avocados, tomatoes, peppers, and other fruits and vegetables imported from Mexico and Central America. Most families don't suddenly stop buying these foods. They simply buy a little less each week without realizing their shopping habits have changed. If you regularly buy avocados, taking advantage of today's prices may be worthwhile. And while bananas can't be stored for long, buying only what you'll use while prices remain stable is still better than waiting until costs climb even higher. Now let's move to a product that's already become noticeably more expensive and could face even more pressure in the months ahead. Number 4. Olive oil. Olive oil prices have already climbed sharply over the past 2 years, but higher prices are only part of the story. The bigger concern is that suppliers are shipping fewer bottles, while retailers become more selective about which products they continue stocking. Poor harvests across southern Europe have reduced production, while higher import and shipping costs continue adding pressure throughout the supply chain. For shoppers, that means 2 things can happen at the same time. You pay more, and you have fewer brands to choose from. If your favorite olive oil goes on sale, it may be worth buying an extra bottle instead of assuming it will still be there next month. Stored away from heat and direct sunlight, olive oil keeps well for many months. The next food on our list has experienced one of the biggest price shocks anywhere in the grocery store, and the worst may not be over. Number 3. Dark chocolate and cocoa products. Chocolate isn't just becoming more expensive, it's becoming harder to source consistently. The biggest pressure is on dark chocolate and cocoa products, which depend heavily on cocoa beans from West Africa, one of the world's largest growing regions. Poor harvests, extreme weather, and sharply higher cocoa prices have pushed manufacturers to rethink how much product they can profitably produce. Instead of removing chocolate from the shelves entirely, retailers often reduce the selection. Premium bars disappear first, specialty baking chocolate becomes less common, and cocoa powder may only be available in limited quantities. If you enjoy baking or regularly buy dark chocolate, don't wait until the holiday season when demand typically increases. Buying an extra package now is a simple way to avoid paying significantly more later. The next item isn't a luxury for millions of Americans. It's how every morning begins. Number 2. Coffee. Coffee has become one of the clearest examples of how supply problems quietly reach consumers. The shelf may still look full today, But behind the scenes, suppliers are prioritizing their fastest-selling products while reducing less popular roasts, blends, and package sizes. Much of the pressure begins in Brazil, the world's largest coffee producer, where poor weather has reduced harvests and tightened global supplies. As costs continue rising, retailers are becoming more selective about what they keep on the shelf. That's why your usual coffee may suddenly disappear even though dozens of other options remain. If you already know which brand your household prefers, buying an extra bag while it's available and on sale is a smart way to stay ahead of future price increases. And now, the item facing the greatest pressure on this list. Number 1. Ground beef. Ground beef isn't a specialty product. It's one of the most common foods in American grocery carts. That's exactly why it's the most concerning item on this countdown. When Walmart begins receiving less ground beef than expected, it isn't simply a shipping delay. It's often a reflection of a much larger supply problem. The U.S. cattle herd has fallen to its lowest level in decades after years of drought, smaller calf crops, and reduced herd sizes. Unlike many other products, beef production can't recover quickly. Rebuilding the national cattle herd takes years, not months. That means shoppers could continue seeing higher prices and fewer promotions well beyond this summer. If ground beef is a regular part of your weekly meals, buying larger family packs when they're discounted and freezing meal-sized portions is one of the simplest ways to protect your grocery budget. The goal isn't to panic, it's to stay one step ahead. Many of these products aren't disappearing overnight. What's changing is the number of choices available, the consistency of supply, and the prices you'll likely pay in the months ahead. Buying a little earlier, shopping during sales, and stocking only the foods your family already uses is a far better strategy than waiting until shortages become obvious. By then, the smartest buying opportunities are usually already gone. Thanks for watching. Now we'd like to hear from you. Which of these 9 grocery items have you already noticed becoming harder to find or more expensive at your local Walmart? Let us know in the comments below.